Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Entrepreneurial Mindset, the entrepreneur and his team. Now we've seen why people want to be entrepreneurs, how to build a team, and the last step in this chapter is on partnerships, how to build partnerships. Why do we need partnerships? Actually, I said that before, it's lacking skills, it's lacking expertise, lacking network, whatever. So we need others to complement that. A way to complement that is by building a team. But this is only important for real essential skills and network. You can also complement yourself by partnerships, by stakeholder and their commitments. If tasks are not that important, if you don't want to have people on your team, or if it's not about people. And this is the second aspect we'd like to further go into, looking at building partnerships, getting stakeholder commitments. So let's first of all look at the stakeholders of a company. If you look at the company and start with the real internal core of the company, you have the founder or the founder's team, which might be the same as the management or a little difference, and then you hire employees. And this is the first partnerships companies do, entrepreneurs do, if they take others on board. But then there are a lot of other stakeholders in the company which are more external, or in most cases external. It's shareholders, it's creditors, so that's the financial partnerships. It could also be potential customers or suppliers. It could be competition, if you talk about co-opetition. It could be the society, the government, whoever. You need others in order to build your business. And this is the step Saraswati described when she talks about committing stakeholders into building your business. So first of all, what are the advantages of partnerships? There are many advantages of partnerships. It gives you a greater pool of resources and ideas. It can even change your goals. It gives you higher potential. Maybe you can focus your expertise if you have others on board who do other tasks. And you can also share your risk and losses. You can have more affordable loss on board. So it's important to have partners. It's important to have other stakeholders being committed to your venture. And this is why expert entrepreneurs think about partnerships, think about potential stakeholders very early in the process. Saras describes that as an important part of the process. You start with yourself, these are the means, and this is what you're able to do, whom you know, and so on. Then you get to a certain point, but if you can't get further, then you start looking for partners. You start interacting with other people, and you start to try to get a commitment from these people. And commitment means, and that's most important, new means. So it starts over and over again. With these new means, you can do more than you were able to do on your own. But you have to be honest, this is also about new goals, because partners have goals and they might differ to your goals, so you have to put your goals together, and maybe you build new goals for yourself and for the partners. What you do is you co-create that with partners, and Saras described that as negotiating with any and all stakeholders who are willing to make actual commitments to the project. Furthermore, who comes on board determines the goals of the enterprise, not vice versa. So you don't think about goals in advance, you don't predict them, you look who's coming on board, and this is determining the goals of the enterprise. This is again where you see that entrepreneurs go totally different paths as planned before. So what is the way to get stakeholder commitments? First of all, you do a potential evaluation of partners, which are surrounded around your idea. This is where you start, your starting point. And now you start asking yourself, whom do you know? And these are the potential stakeholders. So you probably know people. And they may come from the finance sector, they might be suppliers, they might be potential customers you can discuss your product with, and so on. And if you want to do that on a more analytical level, you visualize the whole thing. So that's step one, visualize the stakeholders you potentially might want to take on board. Secondly, then, you mark the relationships. You try to understand what is your relationship towards this specific stakeholders. Is it positive, or is there no relationship, or is it might also even be negative between stakeholders? That's the second step you undertake, and the third step, now you try to get connected to specific partners. You try to get stakeholder 5 on board with your venture. But at the very end, it's a decision you do and the partner does, so you don't know in advance what really comes together and what really builds this so-called stakeholder quilt in that sense. This is how you can step into partnerships. And if you look at partnerships, you'll see how it changed the way companies do their business. Take that example of Airbnb and Nest, who started to work together as partners. They committed themselves to their respective businesses. Why did they do that? Well, Airbnb had a problem in establishing the service, especially because the traditional hotel business was totally against Airbnb because they were taking away business from the traditional hotels. So they started working against Airbnb. Now Airbnb started a study, or the study was conducted, that said that Airbnb users used less energy by using Airbnb rooms than people in hotel rooms. So that made these Airbnb users eco-friendly. But that was just a questionnaire. So for Airbnb, if this is a good point to promote, saying, okay, we promote energy efficient traveling, and our service or our travelers are a lot more energy efficient than hotel travelers, it made sense to work together with a company that had devices to measure that in a better way than questionnaires, which was Nest. So they started to talk to Nest, and at the very end, they got a commitment from Nest to work together. And for Nest, it totally made sense, because then they were able to reach all the Airbnb offers, which is millions of flats, apartments, and houses all over the world. And so Nest could get a higher reach, and that made sense for them. So if you look at that more closely, if you look at Airbnb, with this stakeholder commitment, they could use their arguments in a better way, but also they could say, our service is more energy efficient because we use Nest technology. But on the other hand, they had to implement new goals, because now they were not tackling everyone, they were tackling a niche of environmental friendly people in environment friendly flats, apartments, houses. So they might have had to change their goals onto that niche, or at least they could use these arguments in order to do a better promotion. And for Nest, on the other hand, it also meant new means, because they were able to easily reach more customers. And the new goal is that they could make their solutions, energy monitoring service, more famous. And this is a perfect example where you can see that two companies, and those companies are comparably young compared to all other companies on the world. Those two young companies started working together, giving themselves stakeholder commitments, and which changed the means and the goals between those two. And if you see that example, and if you reflect why this example makes sense, because it gives you more means, you yourself more means and more goals in order to develop your business, you have made an important step in developing your company and developing your entrepreneurial mindset. Because what you do is you go along the path of building your mindset. You know about the general approach, entrepreneurial personality, starting with the means, for example. You have created your business idea, evaluated the potential. You have seen the process of successful entrepreneurs, which means you start with yourself and then go stepwise into markets. And if you can't go further, you need other stakeholders on board, which could be team members or partners. And if you have those on board, then you can go into the next step to get your company started in the best possible way. Because getting your company started, to be honest, is the most important step, because this brings your product or your service to the customer, which you haven't done before. It is all preparation what we did before. Right now, it's really going into business.